coming hard and fast and strong out of the last exit, going onto the road to WrestleMania. We are finally here. It is Royal Rumble weekend. Welcome. It's not a podcast. It is the Slamcast. The two-man booth is in effect. My man Nick Horaceck is on the podcast with me. What's going on, Nick?
Not much. It's Tuesday night, not Wednesday, because I've got to work tomorrow night. So
it doesn't matter because this will probably go up Thursday or Friday or whatever. But
yeah,
we're doing this now. This was a long weekend. It was a tough weekend for your Green Bay Packers, but that's...
Oh, yeah, don't remind me, but at least it wasn't any kind of... At least it didn't come down to a fucking onside kick like it did for both games Sunday. Holy shit.
Yeah, this has been an interesting NFL playoffs, but that's not what we're talking about. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast, we do have to say goodbye to somebody. The wrestling world lost one of the true greats, and I mean this. I do kind of mean this because this guy wasn't known for the success that he had in the business, but to have a career with the amount of accolades and respect of his peers that he had, tremendous bucket of wind, and that's Iron Mike Sharpe. For those of you who are less familiar, Iron Mike Sharpe was what was best called as the Jobber's Jobber. Probably the best enhancement talent of his era, before the Barry Horowitzes, before
the Brooklyn Brawlers.
Brawlers, exactly. There was Iron Mike Sharpe. Nobody could make you. Very few people can make you look better than Iron Mike. And in typical jobber fashion, he even jobs out on the day he dies to Glenn Frey of the Eagles. So,
wow, poor guy can't get a fucking break.
Exactly. No. He gets called up to the big promotion in the sky by the great Booker and the great Beyond. And he still jobs out to Glenn Frey of the Eagles. So our thoughts and our prayers and all our well wishes go out to Iron Mike Sharpe and his family in this tough time, and we'll do like a moment of silence gimmick before them. The Iron Mike Sharpe moment of silence can be a little long.
Yeah. It's almost like the idea of enhancement talent is just lost today in WWE.
Well, in the WWE, yes, because the WWE gets over on having superstars, but on the independents, there's the enhancement talent is still around. There's still guys that are, the jobbers.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of jobbers, somebody got in a little bit of trouble with the boys in the back for some lingo. It's the big news story that's making the rounds around the internet right now, so that's why we're going to talk about it first. Tough Enough winner Josh Stendel. That's what's his name.
I think so. I don't give a shit. I didn't give a shit about
Brendel. I was going to say Bronson Matthews, as he's now been dubbed by the creative overlords at World Wrestling and Entertainment, got into a bit of a pickle with some of his quote-unquote colleagues, although somebody on the WWE roster would disagree with me using that term colleague when in description of Bronson Matthews in relation to the rest of the WWE roster. Mr. Matthews simply tweeted out, what is it? He's just
basically he called the social outcasts, who we have dubbed White New Day,
social jobbers. I mean, I don't even really see anything that bad about it. But apparently that ruffled the feathers and triggered some reactions from some of the more senior members of the roster, or veteran members as far as time served in the industry, maybe not WWE as a whole.
But as far as guys who have paid their dues and
definitely paid their dues and definitely been around a lot more than he has. Kevin Owens being one in particular.
Who is always entertaining on Twitter.
Yeah, I think that was basically just really Kevin Owens being Kevin Owens.
Yep.
But somebody who I think really took it completely far, and in the way their reaction was Cody Rhodes, Stardust, who like very seldomly breaks character on social media and acknowledges things in real life, I guess, with his colleagues.
Right.
Basically, he threw
Came out of the cosmic wasteland, basically.
Yeah, he threw down the thunder, man, and basically told him have fun changing in the hallway for the rest of your career. To which Kevin Owens replies, "Oh, don't worry, he's not going to make it that far." I mean, yeesh, Kev.
Yeah, if there was still a wrestler's court, it'd be an interesting case.
Well, if he was on the main roster and if he was doing this, yeah, that'd be an interesting kangaroo court.
But he hasn't even debuted.
I mean, but are you ever gonna fault a guy who's just getting into the business, who's literally only been with the company, who's literally only even had a name, a working name, for like that's the Bronson Matthews thing is relatively new for him. That's right. He didn't come in with that because he was still using the Yeti guy gimmick when he first got in, but
and no, we're not talking about the Yeti 95. We're not talking about that.
No, this is what he called himself because he had like the man bun and the beard, and that I guess made him a Yeti. I don't get it, but whatever, man. Hey, more power to you. Look, I'm not gonna fault this guy for trying to get over on social media, and Bull Dempsey even, I guess white knighted him. I could speak somewhat to the character of Bull Dempsey, having interacted with him on the independence scene. But I guess Bull kind of came down and aired on the side while, yes, he tried to defend him to Kevin Owens. Also kind of like admonished him as well. I'm sure all parties involved, especially Matthews and Owens and the performer known as Stardust, or formerly known as Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, whatever.
That's what I call the artist formerly known as Cody Rhodes.
Perfect.
Probably got a phone call from somebody in the talent relations department, either chastising them or or praising them, because you don't want to show this kind of disharmony and discord in your locker room. You always kind of like to keep those. I'm not expecting it to be a perfect working environment, where everybody gets along and loves each other, and
right,
each other's best friends. But if there is disharmony and there is any actual working tension, keep it off of social media. That's
at least, yeah.
That's not good for a publicly traded company. That's not best for business.
No.
And
I think he should have been a little more careful about what he tweeted.
I think all parties involved should have been tweeted.
So pretty much, there's no one truly innocent party here. Then
no, this was something that probably shouldn't have happened, getting blown out of proportion, and now because it happened on Twitter, we're talking about it.
Right.
And again, if it
just happened to be a backstage miscommunication or whatever, different story.
Exactly. Like, if he had just said that, it just probably take care of itself. But the fact that he said it on Twitter in a public forum, and then Kevin Owens being, having 600 and something, 50 something followers on Twitter, him saying it becomes a story. And
yes,
yeah.
And of course, Bronson did the old tweet and delete, so that didn't help his cause either.
Yeah, I'm sure that was probably advised. I'm sure he probably realized that he upset the pecking order, brother.
Yeah, be careful in the next time. In the future.
Put it this way, I think like this, I could see where he could become soured in this, and if this leads to his eventual exile and fallout of the company, it certainly wouldn't be surprising, and you can't feel bad for him, or you can't not feel bad for him rather. Um, but this is almost what we expect, I think, from the Tough Enough guys, because there's been very few of the Tough Enough winners that have been come through and actually made a success. I think Miz is the only guy to come through the Tough Enough system and reach the pinnacle of this business.
Yep.
Just put that in your pipe.
Or you have Josh Matthews, who's made a very lengthy career out of it.
Exactly. Who was employed by the company almost 12 years.
Yeah, so you have and then you have, Cameron, who is somehow still with the company.
Still around. I mean, but that's what I'm saying. There's the Tough Enough success rate
isn't low, so
it's not, unforgivable for him, failing and stuff like that. It happens. I mean, look at it this way. He's already come out ahead more than most of his fellow developmental talents are going, just by virtue of winning the Tough Enough prize. So I'm not feeling too bad for him already. He had his chance, and
if he blew it, he blew it.
Some people can't handle the backstage pecking order and how the boys are. It's not for the business isn't for everybody, and if that's the thing that turns him off, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but this wasn't for you, brother.
Yeah.
But moving on from that into slightly good news. Remember how we said we wished Jim Ross could do more New Japan wrestling, and we were wondering who was going to take over for Mauro Ranallo now that he'd gone on to WWE.
And he's actually pretty damn good. I listened to a little bit of his work, and holy shit.
I don't think any one of us doubted him.
I think we're all worried that he was going to have to go the WWE way, and he was going to plug the network every 5 minutes, plug the app every 3, yada, yada, yada.
He's allowed to be Mauro Ranallo, and call it through that scope. So we were wondering, who was going to fill in for him. Well, it has been confirmed by Jim Ross personally. Nothing officially has been signed yet, but there is interest from the Access Network to bring good old JR to their pre-recorded New Japan program that they air every Friday night on their Access TV program. I'm all in favor of this, man. I loved listening to Jim Ross on that Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, I think I watched that show, Wrestle Kingdom 9 show, even as late into the year as like October and November. I was still watching that show just because Jim Ross was that good at commentary in that situation. So it'd be good to hear him call New Japan again. It's always weird watching somebody call matches that are, sometimes a year and a half old or older in a studio. But I think if anybody could fight through that, Jim Ross can.
JR, yeah. And here's the funny thing, I've been going back listening through some of his old podcasts. I just listened to the one with Austin, and I listened to the one with Jim Cornette, where Cornette talked about how he has the Carolina, the Lost tapes or whatever. But it's like, you just wish that guy was able to do more. And here we go. He's going to be doing New Japan stuff, which
we wish we could hear him do something, because that's, as at least wrestling fans of my age, which I had this discussion with my good brother TJ, that me, and I guess not so much you, because you still got some years still. You're still a young buck, but people like myself, Mr. Burhan, I guess you could count Dave Wade in that too. We are aging out of their target demographic, which is males 18 to 35.
Yes.
We are quickly approaching the demographic.
Yeah, because we're right because after that Wrestle Kingdom 9 show, that door was, left open for Jim Ross to come back and, do something in New Japan.
That was the first time New Japan had ever been broadcast in America in English.
Yes. So they did the smart thing and let's get Jim Ross because.
Yeah. And it was enough to get people hooked on that product. People said, "Oh, if this is how it's going to be watched, it's going." But okay, here I go back to where I was doing. To men of a certain age, which are being quickly aging out of this 18 to 35 demographic, Jim Ross is the voice of wrestling for us. So to have Jim Ross call New Japan is going to be just like watching wrestling back in the day. I'm going to be like transported back to. I'm looking forward to, if this actually goes through, which it probably will go through. I will looking forward to this. And this now becomes weekly viewing before we're New Japan had now only be reduced to on-demand viewing for me because it wasn't. With all due respect to Josh Barnett and Mauro Ranallo, it was just hard to watch two guys that work so well together doing MMA and doing other things kind of just go through the motions of calling pre-recorded matches in a studio when I'm used to watching or just used to people calling wrestling live in front of me, reacting live and on the fly. That
Right.
That X factor, that spark was missing in those. I think maybe Jim Ross could bring that back because he'll probably. I guarantee you, Jim Ross probably hasn't watched those matches. I'm pretty sure Josh Barnett and Mauro Ranallo have probably watched those matches before. So it's going to be interesting to see who they pit up with him. Is it going to be still Josh Barnett? That will make it pretty interesting conversations during matches. Or is it going to be like a rotating? I even think if it's Jim Ross does his podcast on that, and while he's calling this New Japan match, does an interview and a guest. I don't think that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, this is a good news, and I hope this is something that comes to fruition.
Yeah, it's definitely be good to hear Jim Ross back in the old,
The
booth.
imaginary booth in the studio.
Yes.
Calling pre-recorded matches.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good segue, and I was gonna forget about it. Speaking of unconfirmed rumors, the rumor that just keeps on not being confirmed,
but keeps on giving.
It keeps on giving us stories because again, this is now a 3-week story. I think the only story that we've talked about 3 weeks in a row on this show is Hulk Hogan and the legal battle and CM Punk and his whole is he with the company or isn't he?
Yes.
The New Japan Exodus, as it's now being referred to by me and me. I just came up with that right now.
Yep.
Got a little. Other than Finn. I mean, look, everybody involved in this rumor or is like associated with this rumor directly, indirectly. Finn Balor, the guys in the Bullet Club, yada yada yada. They're all working the crowd on this absolutely perfect. And AJ Styles was at the Revolution Pro show in England this weekend. I don't know where it was. I apologize to anybody listening, anybody who was at that show. I just don't remember where it is. He dropped the belt to Zack Sabre Jr. And then he got on the mic and cut a nice promo. Fans start chanting, "You deserve it! You deserve it!" And that's where he said, "If I show up at the Royal Rumble, I'm gonna kick ass for all you guys." That's all he said.
Mm-hmm.
The internet and people in our own Wrestling MMA Revolution forum on the Facebooks went apeshit. AJ Styles is coming to WWE. Oh my God, he's gonna be in the Royal Rumble. Ah! Okay, where in that sentence, people, did he say he's going to be in the Royal Rumble? He said if he shows up, he's going to do a good job for all the fans.
Yes.
That, in my eyes, and in the eyes of I think every person who has, a functioning brain. No offense, people that were very excited about that. I feel your excitement, but that's not a confirmation. That's not him saying, I will be at the Royal Rumble Sunday,
Right.
and I'm going to kick everybody's ass, and I will be the next WWE champion, because Roman
Yeah.
Reigns is coming for you, nigga.
Oh, Jesus.
Not exactly, and I'm not saying AJ Styles would say that, but, yeah. He didn't say that, though. He just came out,
Right. He just,
cut
fueled the fire.
Exactly, cut a very face promo. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do my best for all these fans. Yeah!
Mm-hmm.
So here we go, 3 weeks into this rumor, and we still have no idea what's going on. The Nakamura farewell tour is well on its way in New Japan. Everyone's having a good time. I've been watching little 30-second clips from it on the YouTube. Tanahashi's having a good time with this, saying goodbye to his friend, his rival. These two guys are inexorably linked to each other career-wise, and always will be. So, with the gif that made me crack up this week is Tanahashi mocking Nakamura's poses. He throws his hands up in the air and does the hand cross thing and all the Michael Jackson stuff. Yeah, hilarious. So that's going to be an emotional moment next week when he finally wrestles his last show in that company. Already the ticket prices for that event have gone through the roof on the secondary market, and is probably the most expensive and most desired ticket in Japanese wrestling history. That's going to be a sight to behold. We'll probably know more then, but until then, all we can do is speculate. I mean, you would think by now, 3 weeks into this story, we would know one way or the other. We don't know anything more than we knew.
I don't think we'll know more if WWE has their way. We won't know more until these guys show up.
Until something actually is happening, and I think that's how it's going to be. I think if AJ Styles is going to show up Sunday, where they're either going to catch him at the airport or catch him driving, or it'll be a complete surprise when he shows up, if he shows up.
Right.
But we'll talk about that in our Royal Rumble preview, which will.
Right. Yeah, but
the
Royal Rumble. Now, we did have Raw Monday night.
I fell asleep there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think saying Raw is bad, but I'm just fell asleep.
I will throw a few highlights out there. We had Jericho's refereeing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I mean,
hilarious.
I mean, it was kind of weird watching Jericho come out and he's rocking a blazer without a shirt.
Yeah, and then he's all of a sudden, he takes the referee's shirt, who happened to be wearing an undershirt, conveniently.
Mike Chioda. Good for Mike Chioda.
Mm-hmm. So Jericho's refereeing this match, Roman versus Rusev, and the League of Nations gets involved, and when he throws him out in the most comically over way possible. It was hilarious.
The most Jericho way possible.
Yes. It's like you cannot hate this. It's just fucking hilarious.
See, I think I'm struggling on this iteration of Chris Jericho, because while I'm so used to just, devouring and loving everything he does and appreciating it, I'm beginning to realize that it's not as good as it was before. And even now, he's like, I shouldn't even say he's like a shell of himself. It's just the shtick isn't working with me, isn't resonating as much with me right now. Maybe I'm just getting older. I mean, I did kind of chuckle a little bit, but again, literally the only parts I remember of Raw were his promo, and how somehow Chris Jericho is billing himself as a Royal Rumble contender, a legitimate Royal Rumble contender.
Yep. And that continued into the highlight reel later in the night, which Lesnar, Heyman came out, Jericho and Heyman went back and forth. Roman came out, and then Lesnar came out, and then all of a sudden we just have a brawl. I think the League of Nations came out. They got, sent to Suplex City.
And then the Wyatts are in the ring somehow.
Yeah, and then the Wyatts show up and they lay everybody out. So Roman and Brock Lesnar are both left laying at the end of the night.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's almost like they're setting up for something. But the point I was, I guess, trying to make with that. I think I lost it again. What point I was like, how is Jericho trying to put himself out as a legitimate Royal Rumble contender when he's lost the last 2 matches that he's had at pay-per-views?
Mm.
He's just like trying to oh, I'm that good and I've never done this before, and it's like the one thing that he's trying to do. I don't get it.
I don't know. I think that it's just that WWE just trying to build up the star power in this match, because this isn't just any Rumble match. The title's on the line in this match.
This is Boss Rush.
Yes.
This is Boss Rush mode
for Roman. Yes, who is entering at number 1?
Big surprise.
Yeah, really big shock.
Of course. I mean, are we doing this now? Are we going to do a Royal Rumble preview? Or you want to talk? I mean, the Royal Rumble holds a special part for me because this was the first pay-per-view I watched live as it was happening. So this was, again, resonating to my early exposure to wrestling or to the pay-per-view. And I picked a pretty good one, I think, to be my first, which was, for some people widely regarded as the best Royal Rumble match of all time. I would also say 95 deserves some credit, but that's not fair to Flair. But the 1992 Royal Rumble, for me, is probably one of the best.
It is, because, and Bobby Heenan's commentary makes that whole fucking thing.
If you're watching that Royal Rumble at home, the Royal Rumble 1992 drinking game is you do a shot every time Bobby Heenan says that's not fair to Flair. He says it like 13 or 14 times during the course of the 60-minute match. Anytime somebody
says, drunk by the end of this.
Anytime I think it was him and Gorilla were on the team.
Him and Gorilla Monsoon, yep.
Yeah. Anytime Monsoon says something or cast any bit of doubt on Ric Flair's performance, or puts anybody in the same light or over Ric Flair, he immediately retorts back with, "Well, that's not fair to Flair."
Yes, because Rick entered at number 3
and went the whole night.
60-minute man in my eye.
Not only does he deliver one of the best Royal Rumble performances of all time in his first ever match of that before. I mean, this is Ric Flair. Not to say Ric Flair hasn't gone 60 minutes before, but never in a battle royal. I think never on pay-per-view. Not only does he give one of the best performances in the match of all time, he goes and drops probably his best WWE promo, or best WWF promo, and one of his best in a legendary career of promos. And yeah, I'm not even going to bother doing it, but with a tear in my eye, and then, we all know the rest. Yes. And again, we got great.
We had Gene Okerlund there.
Great moment. Cigarette. Yeah, exactly. One of the greatest sound bites in wrestling history.
Yes.
And an event that was really covered too by the greater wrestling press, because I remember there was, photographers from Japan. Me watching this as a youth, this kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize how big of a star Ric Flair was until that moment.
Right, and then and he was a real world champion. It was
the real. Yeah, that was a hell of an angle, but that's why the Royal Rumble always has such a special resonance with me.
And I mean, it's the kickoff of the road to WrestleMania. So and some of my, I've gone back recently. I've watched the '92 Rumble. I've watched the '96 Rumble, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2005. I
mean, everybody comments on the '96 Rumble because that's the other one that Sean won. But I think the '95 Rumble was
the
Sean putting the spotlight on himself, like, hey, I am beyond a shadow of a doubt the best worker in this company right now, and here I'm going to show it. And
went the
hats
distance.
off to Davey Boy Smith too, because again, here's somebody who there's very few people on that company at that time, or on that roster at that time, that could have gone minute for minute with Sean, and that person was probably three guys on that roster at that time. Dave Boy Smith was one of those guys.
Yeah.
Maybe five. There's five guys that could have gone minute for minute with Sean in that match.
And it's funny because I went back in the '96 one. Vader, he comes in, he gets eliminated, and he comes back and he tosses Sean out of the ring over the top rope. So they kind of played a little fast and loose with that over the top rope rule. And if you've been eliminated, you can't.
Well, the same thing happened to Punk in Punk's last Rumble, but it acted like it eliminated him. Oh, you were eliminated. You went over the top rope by Kane, who was already not in the match. There's no precedent, no adherent to wrestling legal precedents.
It's convenient when it's plotline convenience, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. As are most things in wrestling, but
yeah, it's one of those things where even you go back and watch like some of those eliminations I've seen. Like one of my favorites in 2005 is when Muhammad Hassan got dumped. Just because if you look at that time where it was still Raw versus SmackDown, that was still pretty ingrained before it went off the rails years later. But it was pretty much, he entered number 13. You had a couple of Raw guys, a couple of SmackDown guys in there. Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. I think Edge was in there. Chris Jericho, I think, was in there. Michaels didn't enter until later, I think. And then he gets in the ring and everyone's looking at him and they all just gang up on him. So
it's racist.
It's like nobody likes this guy. Nobody likes him.
Yeah. So after Sunday, we'll know somewhat where we're going on the road to WrestleMania. But before we get there, we got to talk about what's going to happen on that show, and we're just going to break down the card match by match by match.
Yep. I'm going from the bottom up because
start from the bottom because we like to build. That's how you build.
All right, we've got the New Day versus the Usos for the tag titles. New Day.
Yeah, I mean, I love everything that the New Day are doing, but I want to go with them, and I'm going to go with them because that's who I want to win. But I wouldn't be surprised if they take the belts off of them and put it on the Usos just to only give them back so they can call themselves 3-time tag. At some point.
Just do it and have them win the titles again at WrestleMania, you think?
Or, at Fastlane or something.
Definitely Fastlane, which they're trying to make a
I think they should. I think they should make the first 3 pay-per-views of the year a big deal because it's the road to WrestleMania. I think having a throwaway pay-per-view, and I'm not saying really throwaway pay-per-view because we had one of the matches of the year last year at Fastlane.
Yes. Roman versus Daniel Bryan.
So it's, I don't think the talent doesn't care about it, but it's to get the fans to care.
Yeah. It's like it was like
it used to be. There used to be the Elimination Chamber. There was this big spectacle, and all this other
and
stuff.
before that, it was No Way Out, which did have one of my all-time favorite main events in 2005 with JBL and the Big Show,
and
cage match.
Also had
saw it. Triple H and Stone Cold, 3 Stages of Hell. It's had. And even the Rumbles had some solid undercard matches, from the Dudleys and the Hardys, Michaels Triple H Last Man Standing, Flair, Vince, but yeah,
that was a Royal Rumble match, yeah.
Yes.
So I could see where WWE wants to do this, and they're probably going to put more star power into Fastlane. And they should, because again, this is WrestleMania season. Every pay-per-view should be a marquee event.
Yes, and it's just one of those things where when was the last time we cared about that? That pay-per-view pre-Rumble or pre-Mania. I mean,
Probably 10 years at least. Probably.
at least, yeah. It just seems like
So
it's just kind of.
it was when they took out the elimination chamber when it was you usually had to, or the other main event was defined by whoever won the elimination chamber match in February. It was kind of like your last chance to get to WrestleMania.
Yep.
So I like to see them bring that back maybe as a concept. But this match, yeah, I think it's gonna be a good match. I mean, we're gonna get class. I wouldn't say classic New Day, but we'll get the usual New Day performance. They'll do something that will have us all laughing the next day.
Yes.
I'm sure they'll be finished mourning Francesca the trombone, or Francesca 2, or
Oh yeah, that was the New Day segment.
3.
They had the funeral for the trombone.
Yeah. Are they melting the trombone, or
No, it was I think it was in like a fucking case or whatever. It was like, oh god, they're mourning this trombone. It's just like, so ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Just when you think the New Day couldn't get any more ridiculous, they have a funeral for a trombone.
Yes.
That's named Francesca. Yeah. So New Day rocks. I think New Day wins, but I wouldn't be surprised. Caveat: wouldn't be surprised if the Usos win as well.
Right. It's just I'm picking
booking.
New Day, but wouldn't be shocked either way.
Exactly, because booking.
Because WWE booking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next match, we have the Divas title on the line. Charlotte with Ric Flair at ringside versus my steampunk goddess Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I think Becky Lynch is very quickly becoming everyone's favorite diva. If you're not sold on the talent, she sure does look pretty.
Really?
So there's a little something in there for everybody. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think there a lot more benefit to having Charlotte as champion rather
going
than
into WrestleMania as opposed to
exactly the story should be a strong face chasing a champion going into WrestleMania, and win or lose on that outcome is that's your ending right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Charlotte finds a way to win this. Probably Ric Flair cheating. Again, I hope they use the internet story that everybody seems to be getting home around, which is Mick Foley being tapped to be the counterbalance to Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Maybe a WrestleMania. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think Charlotte as Divas champion isn't over with just yet.
Yeah, I think definitely I would love to see that big, whether it's Becky or it's Sasha or whoever, the heel losing at WrestleMania. It always happens, and why change?
I shouldn't say it always happens, but
it's pretty common.
It's a better narrative to have, someone
right
going after the champion. The challenger's quest be the main story, not this person's dominance.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that's what we're going to see. So, in order for that to happen, Charlotte has to win.
Yeah, basically cheating because
that's what's going. Because that's obviously what we're getting from this. So
yeah, so it's pretty obvious. So, all right, we've got Alberto Del Rio versus Kalisto for the U.S. title.
Who is champion right now? I've lost.
Del Rio.
Okay. So
Del Rio, because he won it back the next night on fucking SmackDown.
We're counting. If you're keeping score at home, this is Alberto Del Rio 2, Kalisto 1 in far as title matches. The rubber match, I guess you could say. Actually, no, it'd be 1-1 in title matches.
Right.
The rubber match, Kalisto versus Alberto Del Rio for the United States Championship. I think Kalisto takes it just because this is the way the pattern is going.
Yeah, it seems like if they're going to be trading the title back and forth, yeah, you know what?
I think these two are just destined to switch this title back from here until WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. So yeah, Kalisto, new WWE United States champion again.
2-time champion. Yeah.
He's a 2-time champion in the span of 2 weeks.
Yes.
Good
So,
for you, buddy. Good for you.
Kalisto, yeah. All right,
Yeah.
Kalisto. Last man standing for the Intercontinental title, Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens.
Here's your match of the night, people.
Yes.
Write it down. No matter what, this is the match you will be talking about. Apart from the winner of the Royal Rumble, this is the singles match you will be talking about the next day. Putting these two in any sort of fight gimmick match is a
Where they're
great
going to have to beat the shit out of each other. Yes.
Yeah, two guys are gonna have to basically beat each other into oblivion.
Yep.
Can't think of two better individuals to have it. I can't wait to see what these two guys, ways these two guys figure out how to punish each other. Match of the year candidate in WWE for sure. The first, I guess you could say, where it has a serious match of the year potential in WWE.
Yep.
That being said, I can't predict a winner in this. So Nick, who do you think is going to win? And then
Man, it's like, where do you want to go with that? Here's the thing, NXT.
I'm happy either way.
Yeah, because NXT is doing a set of tapings in Florida. I think it's the day before, the Friday before the Rumble. It's gonna be that set of tapings is gonna have Joe versus Corbin versus Sami Zayn for the title. So, depending on how they're booking this, because the way they booked this triple threat for this the number one contender spot is great, because they all have one ups over each other. Sammy has his claim. Baron and Joe, they all have these different claims, and it's working out well. So, if they still want to do Owens versus Zayn at WrestleMania, which I would like them to do, I don't know if they're planning on it.
I think a lot of people do, but I think that has a very, very small chance of actually making it to WrestleMania. If you would have told me 5 years ago that we would be seeing El Generico versus Kevin Steen at WrestleMania, I would have told you you're high and demand that you give me some drugs.
Yes, it'd be like, what the fuck are you smoking? Give me some.
Yeah, that you're able to see this visions of the future.
Yeah, they're destined to do this forever.
Yeah, I think they are. I think this is a story that writes itself. I would like to see it, but I just don't think it's that believable.
You think there's more money in, Sami Zayn chasing for his second NXT title?
I just don't think there's enough wrestling fans that would really remember that. I mean, they're booking to this. If they book that, they're booking it to the very specific set of wrestling fans that watched that final battle match from 2012. So yeah, it was 2013. It was 2012. Yes.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yes.
I think 2011 might have been Steen and Carino.
Yes. And that was also right when when Jericho was leaving to come to WWE after that. Anyway,
yeah, it would have been 2012. Yeah.
So yeah, there's the very a very small section of the fan base that would remember how good of a match that was. I mean, they did have their brief program on NXT, but this is
we never got a definitive conclusion to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we had, Owens powerbomb Zayn into oblivion to win the title, and then, clusterfuck at the end, and then here comes Samoa Joe.
Yeah, but with this match with Ambrose, I feel that I don't want this to be over with, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is all we're going to get out of it. But I want it to continue. I like what I'm seeing from these two talents, but I'm just not sure that that's the final plan for both of these guys going into WrestleMania. I'd like to see it, but I'm not totally sure that that's going to be where their story ends in this WrestleMania arc.
Right.
That being said, it always makes more sense to have the champion retain in that situation. Dean Ambrose wins.
Right, Ambrose wins.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think we're gonna have Ambrose win because Owens is gonna be in the title match for the Rumble match. So
are they both in it, or is it just?
I think they're both gonna end. I think they might both end up being in it. I don't know.
It's kind of they haven't really been very clear at who's going to be in the Royal Rumble this year.
Outside of who we already know, we already have Roman is number one. Brock, Jericho, Big Show.
Yeah,
I think the social social outcasts I think are going to be in there. It's like
the New Day's in there as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty. I think we're gonna get the obligatory NXT debut.
Some people are making a lot of big deals because Mark Henry was apparently dropped from it, and they were thinking a certain someone was going to make their debut. Somebody's somebody's going to be called up. I just think they're trying to fit somebody in, and Mark Henry can't go to the Royal Rumble, or physically can't make it. So
he might be. Yeah, so
we'll see. We shall.
I think we'll definitely get the obligatory Kofi dramatic save himself from elimination just 2 minutes later.
That's that's annual tradition, as is tradition now in WWE. We're gonna get all the spots that we like to see in Royal Rumble matches, but this time it's the Boss Rush, everybody versus Roman.
Yep.
I heard this idea get bandied about on social media as the rumored plan. I like it. That's why I'm gonna go with it, and I'm going out on a limb. I think we're going to see a repeat of the 1994 Royal Rumble with Brock eliminating Roman or Roman eliminating Brock. Somehow those two cancel each other out, and that's going to set up the inevitable duel at WrestleMania between Brock and Roman with no third party to interfere.
No Money in the Bank, miraculous cash in, and yeah, it's going to be. See, I don't know. I think it's wishful thinking on my part, but the idea that the Authority does not want Roman as champion. They've already rigged it. He's already entering at number 1. He has to fucking go the distance. And the idea of, you gotta screw Roman over spectacularly, I think, I just like the idea of all of a sudden, Kevin Owens comes out number 25, whatever it may be, later on, or maybe he just comes out like number 30, whatever the hell it might be. And then he gets dumped out of the ring, but he goes through the ropes or whatever. He's not eliminated. He's hiding under the ring. Roman eliminates the last guy, seemingly thinks he's won, and then all of a sudden, here comes Owens, dumps Roman, and then you hear the simultaneous explosion of Vince Russo and Kevin Dunn's heads.
I just there's a lot of interesting storylines going into this. I just think Brock Roman is the marquee matchup for WrestleMania, or some sort of situation where the title's held in abatement because no one's won the match, so we have to have a new champion be crowned. I just think that story for Roman Reigns, the making of Roman Reigns' moment, is very clearly to me what we're getting this year for the end of WrestleMania. So what better person to have him and make Roman look real strong than someone who's a literal animal in the form of Brock Lesnar?
And I mean, yeah, the idea, Brock, he hasn't been pinned in a couple of years. So, and that, we've already got, the crowds really starting to cheer for Roman. In Philly, I mean, of all places, fucking Philly, accept him as champion, and now we're getting, pretty much the fix is in. So.
Well, I think it's the Authority can't control Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar just kind of does whatever Brock Lesnar wants, so I think that's what makes it kind of like the wild card in this situation. I don't know, man. I'm very excited because it's Royal Rumble season, and that means it's almost WrestleMania.
No matter how, put it this way, we'll say this: no matter how bad the build up to WrestleMania gets, remember the last 2 years, the build up has been kind of lackluster, but the event itself has blown people away. Just remember that, people.
Always remember that going into WrestleMania season. That no matter how bad it might seem, and no matter how boring and uninteresting it is leading up to it, the payoff at the end of the road is so incredibly satisfying. It makes you remember why you become a wrestling fan again, if you haven't already.
Yep.
So that's my prediction. You're going with Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I'm picking the big surprise Kevin Owens. I mean, I maybe I'm just fantasy booking and.
That's fine. That's what this whole point of the segment is.
Yep.
I like the whole Brock Roman eliminating each other. Sets up Brock Roman for.
And who knows? They might do something entirely fucking different. Who knows?
Who knows, man? Who knows? It could have just been subterfuge, but I like that idea. That absolutely sounds like something WWE is gonna do. So that's why I'm making it my official prediction. All right, Iron Sheik tweet of the weeky.
Yes. Let me get deal queued up here.
Fuck him! I talked to him! I wanna know, are you the man or are you a fucking piece of shit? No good motherfucker! Fucking bullshit! Bullshit, Hulk Hogan! I'm the red, all American.
So Iron Sheik all over the place tonight. Of course, Iron Sheik had all, kinds of opinions on the NFL this week. If you're not following the Iron Sheik on Twitter, this is now the perfect time to follow him, because anytime anybody makes any sort of mistake on the football, Shaky is literally all over them. I'm not gonna go with one of those as one of my tweets. There's one that hit me, and it's from just a few days ago. So yeah, this is a odd bit of Confucius-like wisdom from Iron Sheik. Forgive the jabronis because they are jabronis. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your Iron Sheik tweet of the week. Fucking bullshit!
Fucking bullshit!
There you go. You found that one. That's all that matters. I don't really like the theme song is good. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Like when a few years ago, when we first heard like that sound effect and that started becoming really popular, we talked to each other in like the Iron Sheik for like weeks.
Nice.
It was ridiculous. We are fucking nerds. But yeah, that's a thing that happened.
Nice.
All right, that's been a Royal Rumble preview. I know I keep saying we're gonna put up the Slamcast Awards first the inaugural Slamcast Awards for recognizing excellence or outstanding achievement in the field of excellence. That's coming up on future episodes. I gotta get my shit together. I'm sorry. I apologize. So that will be a future episode when we have to like kill some time. Maybe around Academy Awards time. Might do it. That's an idea. Michael Burhan might be joining us again soon. I don't want to like kind of spoil it for everybody else. That's kind of like other Slamcast news. We might be going live with this on the Mixler thing too. We're gonna have a staff meeting and see how we feel about that. But that's kind of the state of Slamcast right now, going into the second month of 2016. We'll talk about the Royal Rumble, everything that happens next week, because we'll now know where we are on the road to WrestleMania, what's going on. We might know something about Daniel Bryan's career. I didn't want to talk about that in the news segment because we don't know anything yet, but
right.
Rumors are circulating that we will have a definitive answer within the next coming weeks. So I'm assuming we'll talk about that.
Also, the Nakamura farewell tour will continue. Maybe we'll
Yep.
know a little bit more about that too as that comes to an end. But
Yeah, but before we get the hell out of here, congratulations to Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae.
yeah, I mean, it's always good when two people in the business, two brothers and sisters, can find love and hopefully a lifetime of happiness to follow.
Yep.
We'll probably see both very soon in NXT.
We already see Gargano in NXT, so.
But we might see Candice LeRae a lot sooner than people think. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know what though? That does kind of kill the world's cutest tag team.
It's true.
I know it kind of blows that because you kind of wanted when them the tag team, you kind of wanted them to be together. But sure, she's perfectly happy with Johnny Gargano. And again, man's not an idiot. Man knows when he's got a gem. Gonna hold on to that. So we had some bad news. We had some ending it on some good news. We
Yep.
had some funny stuff in between. That has been this week's Slamcast. Heading to the plugs now, Nick. Plug.
Yeah, I'm over on YouTube at the Gaming Pegasus 187. I'm on Twitter at Gaming Pegasus 187. Facebook, Nick Horaceck, and the Wrestling / MMA Revolution Facebook group. I'm on Xbox Live, Wii U, Instagram, Pegasus 187. I mean, I'm all over the fucking place. I'm always doing shit. Slamcast. I'm working. I do my own thing. I game. Yeah.
Yep.
Brandon, take us out.
Yeah, buddy. So again, if you like this podcast, you like professional wrestling, you should support professional wrestling in its most basic form, and that is independent wrestling in your local municipality. I guarantee you, no matter where you live in the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, Germany, Australia, Italy, no matter where you live on this wonderful blue ball that we live on floating in space, there are people with dreams and spandex in a wrestling ring just trying to entertain friends, family, and whomever else will walk through that door and pay a ticket. It is your duty, dare I say duty as a wrestling fan, to support it in this phase because that's where the stars get made, and that's where talent really grows on the independence circuits. They all can't be Bronson Matthews, okay?
Ouch.
Or Dolph Ziggler's. Some people got to grind and really learn the craft inside out to get to the top, and that's where you could see the next big thing. I kind of figured there was somebody I wanted to shout out. Somebody had a birthday. Happy birthday, Pat Patterson!
Patterson, yep. Pat Patterson.
Birthday. So many happy birthdays to the Pat Pattersons. 75.
Damn.
Keep on living, Pat.
Please.
So that's been our
R-Truth also just celebrated birthday.
It's R-Truth's birthday too. Yeah, I knew I was getting somebody else too. So happy birthday to R-Truth. Oh man, there's somebody else in this.
It's been a rambling ending.
It's been a rambling ending. I'm trying to just stretch it out for as long as possible. So, for Nick Horaceck, for the absent Bristol Brawler Dave Wade, for Michael Burhead, who might be returning, for Miguel Leon, who is not here, I am Brandon Liggan, saying go forth and spread beauty and light. Peace, love, and humpiness. Play my theme song. Let's go home. Beauty.